Architectural Builders Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
Jam? Is that at all a possibility, or are they only set? You guys only set into metal door frames?
Oh no, you can do wood frames.
Okay, and is there a place to put that in?
No. Fire-rated wood frames aren't in the site. The last time I quoted them, they're $1,000 each, that kind of thing. People usually, unless it's something architectural and has to be, the look of wood, and there's not much wood involved in those frames at all anyway. Even though from 6 feet away, they're wood frames, right? People just go with hollow metal.
So are you saying even the jam, if I spec wood, it's only like a wood veneer, not like a wood solid?
Most definitely only wood veneer. It's probably just a no black line. It's probably just a 30, 40 thousandths thick veneer.
Yeah. Let me explain my problem. I'm putting in residential elevators, and they changed the code, and so the door has to abut the inside of the elevator shaft, basically, like be flush with it, but swing out. And
I just had a guy last week or 2 weeks ago need about 5 openings for this, and by the time we were done getting it corrected, it more than double the amount of budgeted money for the project, and stairs.
I mean, to me, it's ridiculous.
What's ridiculous?
The fire rated jam aspect, once you have a door that locks, how is it going to burn through a wood jam in 1 hour?
You've never seen a fire test.
Okay. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So a fire test is 3 hours, and it goes from ambient temperature to 1800 degree in about 90 seconds, and then it parks there for 2 hours and 57 minutes. Yeah, I happen to be a certified fire door and egress assembly inspector as well.
Okay, so let's ask the question then, because part of what this specification calls for is basically a steel or aluminum plate that's like an 1/8 inch thick and probably 2.5 inches wide that abuts the inside edge of the jam that basically overlaps onto the door by 1/2 inch, right? Like a normal jam would on those 3 sides.
Yeah, it's got a thin little blade stop.
You basically have metal, so you don't even expose the wood side of the jam.
Yeah, so all of these components are tested, and they are brought to market, labeled once they've been listed, once they've passed the fire test, and they're built to do that. So any conversations about deviating what you can actually get a label on is just,
Okay, so that makes sense. But my concern is they've specified something. I can't say. I'm super excited to talk to you because I can't say how many people I've talked to that once I mention this know nothing about it, and I'm like,
I know everything about it.
Code that's requiring me to put in a door that no one can sell me.
I can sell it to you.
Okay.
I just quoted this job. They were about $4,000 an opening because you need an elevator frame. And that's a very particular cross-section because the one thing you've not mentioned and that you must know is you can't project into the hoistway by more than 3/4 inch.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So it's everything's custom, and that number did include hardware. And interestingly, the hardware that the client had provided was not UL listed. This electric bolt. And it's not going to pass the scrutiny of an audit by an inspector who's looking for, UL or Warnock-Hersey or.
Which is super interesting. I've been asking questions on this thing for a couple months now to different people, and I'm just like, this is a specification without a solution that's created because the way that those locks used to work, right, is they sat on the inside of the door jam. There could be 3 inches of space. So they have this lock that would basically hold it down, which is provided by the actual elevator company. Like,
Yeah, and what they're providing is not appropriate for 90-minute applications. So when I had quoted it to the client and said, well, I know what you want to do here. It's obvious what needs to be done. Here's the code-compliant way to put the hardware set. Your client doesn't care what kind of lock they're using, as long as it works. Well, it was just a variation on, I don't recall which exact lock it was, but, it was basically not, an electric deadbolt so that you can't open the door unless you're in a safe condition. No, this is, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's typical because I don't get calls for elevator. It's just an elevator door is all it is. And literally in the hollow metal industry, you were looking for an elevator frame. And if you search, you're going to find some really weird cross sections of hollow metal frames. And the problem is the issue with the wood frame. It does impact the cost substantially, but really what complicates all of it is the hardware. Someone's got to come up with a hardware set that's not only functional, but also compliant with a 90-minute opening, because every single component in that opening must be not only listed, meaning it's been tested and found to be compliant, and labeled. There needs to be visual evidence so that me as an inspector, I walk up to the opening, because 3 occupancy types in NFPA 80 are mandated to be inspected annually on their fire doors. If there's something there that doesn't have a label on it, that goes into the report. And there's only one piece of hardware that doesn't have to have a label on it. That's a steel ball bearing hinge, because we know that's been tested.
So then, and I mean, these are all for residential projects, right? Like I don't even get. I mean, so you have a 1-hour rated wall, but a 90-minute rated door.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. You should only need a 45-minute rating on that. However, you have a vertical enclosure. Well, on the opening, that's right. But because you have a vertical enclosure, that's probably where they're coming up with 90-minute. But it doesn't make sense that your walls would only be 60-minute at that point. They should be 2-hour walls.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the walls specifically just 5/8 drywall rated for 1 hour.
It's the vertical enclosure that makes it a problem. That makes it 90-minute, because you see stairwell doors in condo buildings; those are always 90-minute. That's a vertical enclosure.
Yep. Yeah, but I mean that's condo, right, versus residential. Like, I mean, the house has a 3-level open stairway. I know, but they're slightly different.
They're not. They're not. I mean, whether or not there are poured concrete stairs in that vertical enclosure, it's the way that fire can behave in a vertical enclosure, is my understanding.
Okay. Because it can only go straight up, so that'd be the difference between an elevator enclosure and right next to it a 3-level open staircase, right?
I suppose I'm guilty of having forgotten more about NFPA 80 and 101 than some people have learned, so forgive me if I...
Yeah. No, that's okay. I mean, I'm trying to figure out why this chase is so difficult for what's basically a 90-minute rated door and a metal plate that goes on the inside of it that basically catches the door. And so from a realistic standpoint, like, I understand testing, don't get me wrong, but from a real world scenario, like, that door with the metal plate on the inside is going to outlast your 1-hour drywall.
We're only talking about the opening. I'm not a fire marshal, not a contractor.
Well, and I mean, most things like doors from the garage into the house, right, has less of a rating than,
90-minute.
Yeah, I mean, right, because that's what it takes. It takes a minute to get out of a residential house that's in fire. But I mean, this elevator is going to not be, I don't know. It's just crazy. And then you don't have, the part I thought was crazy too is why do you not have a smoke alarm at the top of the elevator shaft? Like, that's not required. That's crazy talk. Like, wouldn't that be the smartest thing to put in there, would be the actual smoke alarm? So you would know that there's a fire in the elevator shaft before it takes 90 minutes to burn through the door? Like,
Yeah,
so you're saying yeah. Sorry, I'll quit ranting and be more productive. So you're saying the doors you just quoted for a guy that were similar to this were $4,000 an opening?
an opening, yeah, an elevator frame. That was actually a steel fire-rated door. It wasn't wood. Wood would cost more. Then it was a hardware package, latching hardware, an electric deadbolt so that the circuit was open when the elevator controls said you cannot open that door. Obviously hinges, a self-closing device. Yeah.
Okay.
It's all really easy, and in the period of probably 20 minutes, I can take you from here to me asking for a credit card number and a shipping address.
Yeah, I get it. I'll just be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, at $16,000, like for the 4 openings I need for a $28,000 elevator, like, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, instead I'd order 4 door slabs. No, I mean, like, the elevator's in. I'm literally saying I won't do it. I'll buy 4 door slabs with a rating on it, and I'll, assemble it on site with steel on the interior. And partly because I've never had anyone check. Like, I mean, there's not residential inspectors walking through. Or I could be totally wrong. I may have to eat my words, but I mean, I just can't. We're talking about a door slab that costs $300 to $400, and we're talking about a door jamb, and the elevator company supplies the hardware. Like, other than
that was the other
hinges.
That was the other problem with the hardware. There's no one who can make a fire-rated 90-minute door for the hardware that was specified. It was an unusual electric bolt that it was like a detainer that captured a strike, and the notch required in the door was simply not permissible by any manufacturer of fire-rated wood doors.
Yeah, you have
or steel doors.
I mean, I've seen all the doors I've seen the doors that this company's installing. They're installing elevators every week in homes throughout Washington, and they're wood slabs with a notch cut out of the door that's literally 2 inches by 10 inches tall that a steel plate gets put into, and then this electronic bolt gets backed up against. Or actually, the strike hook hooks into, and then,
and the block body
control part gets mounted on the door. And so
none of those openings are 90-minute rated.
Right? Yeah. And so I'm just like, they're doing it. So I was trying to figure out how to, like, make it work, but at $4,000, I'm going to go with status quo in this case and put in the door. Because the whole thing doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I would be following the guidance of the elevator manufacturer, because I think it would be reasonable for someone to agree that you were doing the correct thing in doing so. But talking to a person who, sells doors and knows about 90-minute, I would say that none of that is compliant.
I totally agree. So my question is, my hope was to have a door slab that had the rating on the side of it, so that they would know that I paid, $400 for the door slab instead of $200 for the same door slab without the sticker. And I don't even want anybody to do anything to it. Like, I will literally just prep on site. So if I order 4 307-foot doors from you guys that basically have 0 prep on them and have them shipped to me out here in Seattle, will those 4 doors come with the fire-rated sticker?
So to answer that question, I would say, what hardware will be applied to the door? That's the question. So what hardware will you apply to the door? And you'll say, the hinges and this weird deadbolt, this weird lock from an elevator. I'll say, then the answer would be no, the door will not have a label on it. Because you're telling
But
us
if
that
I
you're going
said
to.
the door will be hinges and like it's just a 90-minute fire rated door, it's not for an
You won't-
elevator. The
you won't get the
hinges would be
label.
steel, and the
Nope.
stripe
Mm-mm.
would be for a UL listed lock. Like,
Nope, you won't get the label. And that's because that FP80 specifically states what can and cannot be done in the field for machining, and hinges
Yeah.
most definitely cannot be done in the field.
Okay.
So
So
just
we have to have you guys bore the hinges and then basically move and basically you'd have to route for the UL listed door hardware, right? So you'd have to mount for the hinges, and you'd have to basically drill and bore the door for a UL listed normal lock or something.
Yes, except that the door manufacturer has to have tested the preparation for the lock that you would tell us to prep for. So
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Tectus hinges or SOS hinges, concealed hinges?
Yeah, I know SOS.
Okay, so so SOS is the OG concealed hinge. It's the original deal. Well,
Yeah.
there's new guys out there: McKinney, Sugatsuni, Tectus, Simon's work Tectus, and they are evolutions of the SOS because now they're adjustable in 3 axes. Well, some manufacturers can't prep for those because they never paid the money to have their door tested for that because there's not enough market demand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if we were to be asked to do something to the, so the point of that is, as long as our listings, meaning our approvals, under the umbrella of our approvals, falls in your lock that you want us to prep for, we can absolutely do it. But that weird notch lock, we can't do it. I know that we can't. No one can.
So
In wood or steel.
That, yeah.
Yeah, so then you need a hardware set, that's compliant and that doesn't broach more than 3/4 inch into the hoistway. That keeps the door latched under the event of a fire. So to take this completely fictional scenario even further, the way to get a door with a label on it, which ties back to what I had said very initially, is if you were to install a full surface fire rated continuous hinge and an exit only fire rated panic device, the only way I could send that label door to you is without any preparations for hardware. And that label is going to be on the top rail, which is completely acceptable, whether it be on the stile or the top rail. So when someone orders that configuration from me, there's no prep to do, and it does come with the label. Absolutely. Now, if these people take these doors and do other stuff to them, and it's found to be faulty in the astronomical chance there's a fire and an audit and a loss of life, there is a serial number on that label that's tied back to the record at me, at the supplier, at the distributor, that says, this label, this is how the client told us it was prepped, and this is what we did.
Yep.
So keeping a log.
My house and my construction company, I'm doing my own house. I'll have to answer this question when I hit it for a client again. We haven't hit it since they changed the code yet, but I know I will hit it. And I've been leaning on the elevator company, like, why is there no solution for this? And the other part that's funny is the electric strike that you have to mount to the door is hideous. Like, I'm putting these in $3 million homes, and there's just this big box that sits on the outside of it. And I'm like,
I'll tell you, down where I am, $3 million doesn't get you started in certain neighborhoods. So the point is I get it. You're building really expensive homes, and it's just got stuff that you don't have any choice over.
Yeah. Okay. So if I tell you, understanding that if something else happened in the field, I'd become liable. But if I tell you,
I've got nothing to do with that. It's a continuous hinge, and it's an exit-only panic device. If you were hanging doors with those circumstances, you would get a door that would have a label on it. Okay.
How do I order those doors that I need for a different project from you?
Oh, you can just send me an email and I can price it up. Tell me the veneer, the net sizes, obviously the quantity, that kind of stuff. My email is under Contact Us in the upper right-hand corner of the website. It's the sales email that's there. That comes straight to me. My name is Richard, and what I'll do is I'll also dig up that cut sheet on the elevator frame just so that you can see it and say, okay, well, that's what that elevator frame looks like. Now I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, you already know what it looks like in your head, but I'll show you what the
Yep.
what the industry supplies.
Okay. So there's a sales, a technical, and
Sales.
there's a sales. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. I will send that over.
Cool. I look forward to seeing it, and I'll
Richard,
reply.
It's been fantastic talking to you. It's been a long journey to find someone who's well educated, and thank you much for your time. And I'll keep that over here in just a few minutes.
I look forward to that, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.